Thank you all for coming on the Fast Traack podcast. We're so excited to have you here. Now, I know that you guys know each other well, but our audience might not know you. So I'd like to start with some introductions to get the backstory of how you all started working together. So Chantal, let's start with you. Can you please share a little bit about your journey to becoming the director of influencer marketing at Warner Brothers?
Sure. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here chatting with you all. First and foremost, I've always had a deep passion for storytelling. And I'd say over the years, I've had the opportunity to work in a variety of roles. I like to say I've had 9 lives because I've done everything in this industry, from the marketing and entertainment industries. I started out in traditional PR and gradually moved into creative production and film and TV. And so making that transition into digital marketing, I just saw how powerful social media and influencer collaborations could be for both brands and creators. I've always been enamored by the way that creators specifically kind of hone in on their power and harness their power. And so my role specifically at Warner Brothers has been specifically to have kind of that natural progression in a lot of ways between like the merge of my love for film with my expertise in digital marketing. One of my favorite things to do is engage and inspire when it comes to like specific, like innovative ways to like kind of push the needle when it comes to campaigns. And so for me, like having awesome humans like Jazmine and Loren, who are creators that I admire and saw from afar, I was like, okay, these are 2 dope as hell girls who are really moving the needle. I just think over my career, I've just been very enamored with like seeing really dope people and making connections happen. And so I would just say my passion for storytelling with my desire for like connecting dope people with dope opportunities is kind of what led me to where I am today.
Amazing. And so this is a good intro to our 2 other guests. So Chantal, can you tell us how you started working with Jazmine and Loren?
So I first started seeing Loren. I think I saw Loren on like a soap opera she was in. And I was like, wow, this girl's gorgeous. And then I saw Jazmine. Stunning. Like, are we serious? I was like, whoa, who's this? And so then I started seeing Jazmine on social. And I remember being like, okay, wait, these 2 know each other. And so their energy and their synergy was just so beautiful. And so I've told them this numerous times, but they just have this magnetic aura about them that really makes it easy to just fall in love with them as humans. And so I just saw their approach to authenticity over time. And so we just naturally began kind of just having synergy. I just remember from Warner Brothers inviting them to a couple of our premieres. I know one of them was Wonka, and you guys have been to a bunch of our premieres, but I know I just wanted their personality and their charisma on our carpets and a part of our collaborations. And so one of the specific things about both of them, Jazmine's ability to connect with her audience on a deep personal level and understanding like her training in dance and singing and like kind of like she's a student of the craft. And so seeing someone like Loren, whose creative vision, makes her like just excel from being an actress in her vocal range. And so like you have them being these multifaceted, multi-hyphenate like creatives, right? And so it doesn't come from just, okay, they're creators. They woke up one day, like these are students of the craft. And so it's just been an amazing opportunity to be able to work with them in any capacity.
I love it.
Chantal, you better eat.
Do we need to speak?
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll go home now. Oh. But sheesh.
But we need to hear it from you, ladies. So Jazmine and Loren, let's turn it over to you. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience? And can you tell us just a little bit about how you use social media to accelerate your careers?
Yeah, well, I'm Loren.
I'm Jazmine.
And I would say maybe over 10 years ago, I started realizing that the internet was turning into something that was different, and it was something that few people were going to be able to capitalize off of. And I was like, something is happening here. And I was trying to get people on board because at the time we weren't making money. So I felt like we didn't have influencers. You just had like people on the internet or like YouTubers. But I was like, something bigger is happening here. Can somebody join in with me? So I tried to get like a boyfriend or just like somebody to build something with, because I saw like this was a platform that we were going to be able to build from. People are going to become millionaires here. Yeah. And people just didn't get it. But from there, I really started to grow on social media after I was on American Idol. So I started sharing my behind the scenes journey there. But really when I was on Broadway, I was a swing, which means you understudy like 6 parts. So at any day you get a call like, hey, I'm going to go on today as the star, or I'm going to be the smallest character in the show. And it was a lot of stress, but people loved following that journey. So I would share my debuts. So every time I went on for somebody new, I would show the entire journey of like becoming this new character and my jitters, how nervous I was backstage. And what was cool was the people who were actually in the audience got a chance to go home and then watch what was actually happening when they thought they were just, seeing a show. And then from showing that side, I was able to grow and grow. And then I was also doing movies and TV shows. So I was showing the behind the scenes of like, this is life on set. This is what I'm doing. And then this is it on screen. And I think that showing both sides is what started attracting more of my audience and what helped me to get where I am today. And then I attached like a leech to my bestie because I wanted a partner, and she was perfect. We both wanted the same thing. So you can go ahead and share your life.
When I will say I was fortunate to have a mom who like recorded everything. I had one of those moms who were just like, go baby. And she would start putting my videos on YouTube in the early stages. And slowly, like, it gained traction. And I mean, from my dance classes to my vocal lessons, she would put me in a bunch of things that I was interested in. And then I would perform around Atlanta. And eventually I got a lot of opportunities to dance and tour. So from touring, I would say that's when I really was like, oh, snap. This is happening. Like I was background dancing for arena tours, and my dreams were like inflating. So eventually my last stop was in LA. I'm like condensing it, but my last stop was in LA, and I was like, I want to be here. So I had already kind of met Loren. I asked her.
We had filmed a movie together, like back in the day. So we were like cool. We would see each other at auditions. Yeah, so we were cool.
And she was in one of my music videos as well. So I was just so excited to like have a friend in LA, and I texted her and I was like, hey, can I stay with you for a month? And she was like, no. And I was like,
that's like crazy ass.
I had never been on my own before. Again, my dreams were inflating. My faith was growing. Like all these things were happening. And so I couldn't really understand what was appropriate to ask. But she was like, you can stay for like a week or two. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. And I came. And we fell in love
deeply. No. I was like, oh, well, I knew. I knew. I took her to, at the time I was on the Young and the Restless, and my publicist was sending me to so many events, and I would go by myself, or my publicist would go and like take me and then leave. So I would just be at these events like by myself, and I was used to it. But I was like, can I take a +1? I never had a +1 to bring, and I took her one time, and it was so fun. And she was very interesting because she would like. Kind of like she's a full star, but she would like lean back and just kind of let me do things. And I was like, no, come on, we're going to walk together.
Again, I didn't know what was appropriate. Walk the carpet
together.
And someone who had been many different, things in entertainment, the background dancer, the singer, the lead, what I mean? So many. I just wanted to have her moment. And I was in a moment in my life where I wanted to be the friend that I wanted. So I wanted her to be able to shine. But she was also matching my energy of like, no, we could shine together. So we would start going to carpets, and she'd be like, come on the carpet with me. And
I was like, we need to get you on Getty Images.
And I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh, you love it.
We started collecting these like Pokemon cards.
Oh my God.
After every event, I was like, did they post them?
Yeah, no, we were learning together, and really we were just having so much fun.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so having you. And then I didn't want to go to things without her. So then I was like, well, I'm attached.
Well, of course not. We're in love now. That was it.
So
match made in heaven.
Pretty much. I packed my things and I moved to Los Angeles.
And how long did you end up staying in the apartment?
She never left.
I stayed for the 2 weeks, and then I went back to Atlanta, and I grabbed my car and I came back and found an apartment, and like my whole life changed. For the better.
It's amazing.
For sure.
It's amazing. It was like it was meant to be. That's such a wonderful story. I love it. So obviously, social media and entertainment is a little bit of a crazy industry to navigate. So I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on like what is needed to actually make it in the creator industry. So Chantal, let's start with you. What do you think is needed to make it?
That's a great question. I think for anyone starting out, like, my biggest piece of advice is to stay curious and always be willing to learn, always be willing to be a student, because as long as you have breath in your body, you'll forever be doing that. I think the creator economy and marketing landscape is evolving very quickly. So staying adaptable is key for those who are transitioning roles. So if you're doing creative production and you're wanting to do content creation, and think about how those skill sets play into one another. How can they help you exceed in your next role? How can they help you exceed in like moving into influencer marketing, for example? Understanding what it's like to be a creator can be a huge asset in building like authentic partnerships. I think what we're seeing a lot of times in creators when it comes to like merch, when it comes to like getting equity in their businesses and starting their own influencer agencies, and we're seeing kind of that autonomy taking front and center here. I think it's really, really important. And so I say just stay curious and stay adaptable, and things are going to be ever evolving. And so I'd say what we saw 4 or 5 years ago from TikTok, and now seeing the people who were leading the way, like you have people like Tabitha Brown, who started off giving inspirational quotes and inspirational moments on TikTok, now having a full line on Target, right? And all from her authenticity and being adaptable and listening to her audience and her audience trusting her. And so I just think just stay curious and always know that you're forever going to be learning. Always. So that's my advice.
And Jazmine and Loren, what about you guys?
I would piggyback off of that in the context of which I, engulfed myself into content creation. I was coming from Atlanta. I, had been performing as a music artist, releasing music. I was acting, but content creating was a whole nother industry. And when I started collaborating, that's what I would say. I would say be able to convert and be able to collab. Because when I came here and Loren was like, oh, there's this new thing, this new app that Musical.ly used to have. It's called TikTok now, though. And I was like, oh, okay, and we would make videos and they would start going viral on her page. And so eventually I was like, what's it called? Let me download this app. But I like having the tools that I had. I really did have the skills, but being able and willing and open to convert these skills into, videos online for this reason, in this format, like that definitely was a shift for me. So I think the advice I would give is be willing to convert. I always say, like, we're all selling water. It's just about how you package it, and be willing to collaborate with people, because that's really going to get you ahead faster than most.
I would say also one thing that has really worked for me, every video is not going to go viral, and that's okay. I think the real goal should be to have people want to be your friend, have people want to be your best friend, because then they'll want to support, they'll want to follow the journey. So even if the video is getting maybe 30 to 60,000 views and you're used to 1 million, that's the 36 to 60,000 people who are actually going to pay for things, who will actually like support you when you're doing something. So I think the goal sometimes, especially when you're starting out, you want so many viral moments, especially if you start out with a lot of viral moments, it's just like you're hungry for it, and it becomes kind of a drug of just like go viral. And then when you don't, it constantly feels like you're failing, or like constantly playing this game with the algorithm. Right. If you just focus on building a friendship with the other side of the internet, then even if it's a few people, at least it's real and authentic. And those are the people. Then the more friendships that you're building, the more real your audience will be. So then you'll end up being one of those people like Tabitha Brown, because Tabitha Brown, she has millions of friendships. You want to be her friend. And I actually love Tabitha. That was a really good call. But one advice that she actually gave me was, she was like, root things in love and find something that is universal. Because even without a language, you can connect to people with food and with love, which is the base of her platform. So I took that and decided the base of my platform would be friendship.
That's amazing, because it's like you showed everyone all of the behind the scenes. And so it's like, they're not just seeing the videos of you doing the thing, they're actually like getting to know a part of the process and your journey. And so that probably makes you feel so relatable. Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I want to just jump in here and say, Loren, you inspired one of the things I also was thinking of, just being a good human, just being people talk in this industry, how you treat people, how you treat yourself, how you show up in the world, how you show up for others. Like that goes a long way. And when I say people talk in this industry, people talk. And so like from a creator to a marketer, how you are, your reputation precedes you. And so how you treat humans and being a good human, we can use Tabitha Brown all day long. And she's been one of those people I mentioned because she walks the walk, she talks the talk. She is an amazing human being. And so that's why it's easy to work with people like her. It's easy to work with people like Jazmine and Loren because you know they're going to be the utmost professionals while also being awesome humans. And so I stress that because that goes a very long way in this industry.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, that's probably how you've been able to build such strong trust with one another because you guys deliver on what you say you'll do and you follow through. And that's just, it's a skill and a value that cannot be understated.
No, it's really special. Chantal doesn't Hollywood talk. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
If she says like, oh, I'm going to connect you. Oh, I'm going to have you here. Oh, here's a campaign that's coming. Like so many people do that, but she actually follows through. And then another thing that we used to see was that at premieres, she would really have the celebrities back. Like, yes, she was over here like looking out for us, but we would watch her like making sure that whoever the actor was in the movie, she'd be like walking them around and like having their back without making the creator also who was there maybe feel smaller, the guest not feel like they're important. And that was really special. And I know for me, we'd leave and be like, our goal is to be on that side. Yeah. Because right now, you know, we go to a lot of premieres, maybe as actresses, maybe as creators. I don't ever really know. But the goal is to have that giant premiere and then have Chantal walking us around. Yeah. Yeah. That's the goal.
Because she's a professional. She knows.
Oh, yes.
She's that girl.
That's another thing. Yeah, thank you, first and foremost. I just like taking care of people because it's like, I know what it's like to have people dismiss you or make you feel like you're less than. And those people who you were dismissing 2 days ago, like a year from now could be the hottest thing in Hollywood. So I'm just saying, watch
that. Is so true.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more. And so I guess let's talk a little bit about creativity and some of the ways that you guys think about creativity and manage creativity, because it's super important. And obviously it's core to what all of us do. And so one of the challenges that we hear from both creators and marketers is that there's a lot of different perspectives about it. And from the marketer side, obviously you don't want to be so stiff that you're sort of putting creators in a box or, not giving the creator the space to actually make the content that they would naturally create. But ultimately, you're also working against KPIs, right? Like you have marketing goals, you have things that you're trying to achieve, you've got campaigns that you're trying to deliver. And on the creator side, obviously, you want to be a great partner to the brand, right? You want to deliver great content, but not every single piece of content is going to go viral. And I hear it all the time with brands saying, hey, how do we make this piece of content go viral? And that's just not the way that it works. So Chantal, what does it actually mean to give creative freedom to partners like Loren and Jazmine?
First of all, it's a good question. Great question. I think giving creative freedom means trusting the creator to bring their own voice, perspective, and personality into the campaign. You reached out to them for a reason, so trust them with that. Trust. As a marketer, it's my job to ensure that the brand's key messages and all of those things are communicated. But at the same time, that doesn't mean restricting the creator's voice and their creative process. Right. If I'm coming to Jazmine and Loren, I know and I see and I understand what their content pieces are, what their kind of goals are, what they're looking to have, having conversations with them. I'm not going to come to them with something that's like, first of all, not in their voice or doesn't make sense for them or doesn't. It's like, just learn and understand the creators you're working with. And I always tell creators or people I'm working with, we have brand guidelines, but you know your audience better than anyone else. Like, let's work to make sure the message, it resonates authentically, but at the same time, let's balance like what comes from clear communication when it comes to deliverables, because I never wanted to get to a place where it's like, okay, I delivered this and this, you're not satisfied as a brand. So what went wrong? It's like, we should have solidified this and established this from the jump, because you should know the creator going out to as a brand. And so one of my non-negotiables is like, we should never get to the end of a campaign and be like, oh, okay, where did this go wrong? It's like, no, you had T's to cross and I's to dot initially. And so when you're balancing KPIs, it's like, do your homework, make sure that when you're reaching out and you're saying give creative freedom, actually give that creator that, and make sure that your brand guidelines and all those things are, crossed and dotted, but at the same time, trust that the creator that you're working with and that you put your trust in knows what they're doing.
Yeah. And do you share your brand guidelines in advance with creators?
We do. We give talking points. We'll give, like, if it is what kind of, outline what the concept looks like. We usually do creative briefs. We usually do like making sure that you're well versed. And if you're not well versed, hey, ask questions. And so that's one of the things that I'm very adamant about is like, if there is a movie campaign, like at the end of the day, the industry I work in is very straightforward, selling movie tickets, getting butts in seats and making people fall in love with storytelling. Right. And so for me, as a huge movie lover and a movie buff, like if I know I'm not going to go watch this movie, how am I going to go market this movie? Like, right. How can I get my little treasure chest in my head and be like, yeah, how do I get people to give them? Right. So being authentic and being as, real as possible. Like if something is not resonating, what have you, just talk to the creator about it because they know their audience. They know their audience ever will. And so just trusting that, if you're working on something, like I remember when we did Barbie, working with so many really dope creators and like having them kind of like showcasing, like if pink was everywhere, like I was dreaming pink. I would wake up and I'd be like, oh my goodness, like I feel like I was in Barbie land my damn self. And so like working with so many unique creators in that campaign was an opportunity for us to be like, we know this is a beloved IP, but at the same time, we're giving creators autonomy to whatever that looks like for them to really push, our title forward. So after you pass that baton, trust them with it.
Yeah. It's great advice. Yeah. I think a lot of brands struggle with that though, to be honest. And that's why it's a really important question. And I think, if you're looking to find really great and strong partnerships with creators, then there does need to be that level of trust, because I think probably from the creator side, and Jazmine and Loren, we're going to pass it over to you. But I think probably as a creator, your audience super well. And obviously your audience is going to know if the content that you're creating is not actually like normal content that you would create, right? Like your audience can sniff that out so quickly. So Loren and Jazmine, tell us about like, what's your thought process behind creating content that will feel like it can land authentically with your audience?
Well, that's, yes, you do know your audience, but the reality is, whether your audience likes it or not, a lot of times with ads, you're in a game against the algorithm. So that's whether the algorithm is going to be in your favor of like because you will try your best to make the content that you make. That is like, this content usually hits. And I will say now I've done so many deals and ads, and I can tell you sometimes it hits and the ad actually pops off like your regular content. And then sometimes it just doesn't. And there is it's like, there really isn't a formula with that, but when it does, it's like, yay, hey, I did it. And then when it doesn't, it's like, I don't know what to tell you, because this usually does work on my page. This is just, and I know that's a fight with the algorithm. Sometimes they'll show an ad, and then other times they will you'll just be in a fight. You really just try to do your best and stay authentic to what your content is, but with the algorithm, there are no guarantees. You just try to do, and what you really try to do, because I've also just accepted that your ads won't do as well as your other content. So what I try to do is just make sure that it's always just sellable. If this can get a few people to buy some tickets, buy the product, buy whatever it is, I just try to make the best commercial, whether it performs crazy or not. Because even if it only reaches maybe 30,000 people, I know at least 10 are actually going to go and click the link and do something, which is still going to be profitable for the brand.
Quick question, just before I pass it over. Do you see a difference between content that is like ad content that you're creating that's boosted versus non-boosted, or you feel the same about both?
Absolutely. I have found that, so if you make your content similar to how you normally do it, when it's boosted, the insights actually match kind of your others. So the what's that? Yeah, because it's targeted. Engagement. The engagement will be what your regular post would be. It'll just be boosted. So I had done this deal with like stars, And I did the video based off of how I would kind of normally do, like kind of show my personality and all of this. And I realized versus like some ads, you're going to get 10 comments, but it'll have like 3 million views after they boosted it. You know, it was like people were actually watching the post. It was it was as if they didn't realize that it was an ad that ended up on their page. That was like how the engagement was going and how people were commenting about my makeup or like just as if it was regular. And that's always the goal, is to make it like a real commercial that you would do. Also,
the idea of, promoting on platforms, that these platforms are a business anyways. So they're trying to, get you to expense more on their platforms from a brand perspective. So like if I'm posting an ad and you're running you're running budget towards this ad, the stickiness factor is there, which is like, I feel like our job is to make it sticky. And the exposure, sometimes it is that like expense and budget that really does propel it because it's going to stick. But when you do frame it in, this is an ad, #ad, like it lets the platform know like, oh, money's about to be being spent, I think it's like a little signal. So I think it is always important really to expense like a little to just push that ad, especially if it's a good one.
Yeah. Put a little something behind it. It's going to do us both a favor.
Yeah.
And so how do you keep yourself from burning out from creating content? Like content creation, I can't even imagine doing it because it's got to be so hard because not only do the platforms change, but the trends change. So like, how do you keep yourself excited about the content that you're creating? And how do you make sure that like you're always bringing your best in this evolving space?
I would say collaborating again helps.
Collaborating really helps with burnout.
Yeah.
Because if I'm burned out, at least she's not.
Yeah.
So we can collab together. I will say I don't really burn out, but it's only because I found a world that I can always do. I learned my lesson in 2021. I had a lot of success during 2020 on the internet, like all the kids who hopped onto TikTok.
Right.
And when I tell you, I booked a TV show. And on this TV show, I was singing and dancing, which meant I was in rehearsals, which meant I didn't have any time. So the time because content creating is a full-time job. So now the time that I used to have is gone. And I didn't prepare for this. I didn't prepare for being, at the time, I'm doing the old school, I'm gonna post 3 times a day. When I tell you, I was stressed. I was burnt out. I'm over here gaining followers, losing a bunch. I was like, I'm never doing this again. What can I do that I can always do? That I can do when I'm asleep, that I can do when I'm filming 3 movies. What is content I can always make? So I switched over to what can you always do? Because that's another thing that I learned after doing this for like, it might be 15 years in, but after doing this for a really long time, I've seen so many people rise. And then I've seen so many people fall.
Yeah.
And not fall in a bad way of like a scandal, but fall because they're tired.
Yeah.
And that's because they were doing skits. They were doing something that needed full productions. They were doing like big things.
Definitely.
And that
the editing
takes the editing
of the concept.
And the concept, the writing, the something that that is a full-time job in itself. So then when you kind of have something else, whatever, now you're discouraged because the views aren't the same because you're not as consistent, even though the product is still just as good. And that's when you start burning out also, is when the views start changing, all of that. And people are just like, be consistent. It's hard to be consistent when 3 people are watching.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I learned to do something that I can always do. And the transition sometimes can be a little wonky when you're transitioning. Sometimes the views are going to be lower while you're doing a transition. And just stick it out. That's where being consistent really has to come in, because eventually people will always catch on. There's a girl named Tanner Adele who's an artist, and she has this song called Buckle Bunny, and she's really talented. I knew she was going to pop off. I knew it because she was making the same content and it was good content. And I was watching her videos were getting 1,000 views, something. Now all of her videos are 100K plus. She's performing everywhere. She's on her own headlining tour right now. But I knew, because I was watching her do something that she could always do. She wasn't trying to keep up with everybody else. She was staying in her own lane.
it's important to be, I take this in life, but I always say like, it's important to be at a pace that you're graced for and that you can keep up with. So like, even there's certain content and there's certain modes that you're going to do for growth. And then there's certain things you're just going to do to be consistent and stay afloat. And that, like, that's the pace of your business, of your content, of your life. Cause this is like what we do in our life. And then there's certain modes when you do like get a inspired, or you do get a spunk of energy, and then you're able to like just grow and like be aggressive, because it's an aggressive industry. So I think just knowing which mode you're in, but also knowing like there is a pace that you're graced for, and you have to like make sure you stay in that like rhythm.
Yeah. And don't get too excited when you're in that mode. That's like when you say, oh, I'll go to the party. And then the day of the party comes and you're like, I didn't have the energy for this party.
Yeah.
But it seemed like I did. You know, I've definitely done that as well, where it's like, I know now that I can't post every day.
Yeah.
I shouldn't post every day, because then the seasons where I can't keep up with that. And then it's actually doing me less of a favor because my algorithm is confused. And now my algorithm is showing that.
I'll jump in. Sorry to cut you off, Loren. Your audience knows too. Like, they can sense it. Like, I'm a huge fan of Joanne the Scammer. And like, there was a whole era of Joanne the Scammer of like post, and then she wasn't posting anymore. And people were like, what happened? Then she came out and said, you know, my mental health. Like, people saw it. People were like, oh, you don't see them the same. You don't see people they sense it. Your audience knows you. And so that's another thing I want to. It's like they pay attention. They're like, wait, yeah, I posted, or this, you seem different. Like, they are paying attention. So it's also like trust, like your audience knows you as well.
It is. Yeah, very much.
It's so true. And I mean, I think it brings the conversation back full circle that like your audience, not only do they know you, but you've built that level of like authenticity. Like they know what to expect from you. And when you're doing something that isn't like normal, they can tell because they know you. They've built this like relationship with you. So such good advice. Okay. So we're going to move to some rapid fire questions. And I think the first one is a great one because we're sort of talking about some trends anyways. So everyone, this question for everyone, what trend are you seeing right now that you think is too hyped?
That's too hyped. You know, hyped. Probably the suspect trend.
Oh, yes.
I love that trend, but I only think it's too hyped because I can't think of anything to do it because I'm sensitive. So I feel left out. So that's why I think it's too hyped. Hurry up and end it. Because I don't want to. We can do it, but Jazmine is very cutthroat. Every time we try to do one of those challenges, she will actually do it, and I will half seize. I'm way too soft for that kind of trend. You remember that tortilla trend where you slapped them out across the face? I was so gentle with her, and she was beating me. I'm like, I can't do it. I don't want to suspect. I don't want to insult you. That one.
We haven't done that one.
It's okay to skip out on some trends, so that's fine. That's the right one to skip out on.
I am with all the shenanigans. I don't think any of them are overhyped. I'm still saying things are demure and cutesy. I still want to know if I have 30 minutes. I'm here for all the shenanigans.
Yeah, all of them are great right now.
I'm over the very demure, very mindful. I'm sorry, but I was like, I'm very ready for it to be empty. That's what I was ready for. But as far as me, what I see trending right now, I think specifically AI-driven content is getting a lot of buzz right now. I don't know if y'all are on your Instagram For You pages, but there are these weird AI like creature things. Like it'll be food and then it turns into like random like it freaks me out, and I want it to end immediately. And I would like for that.
No, it's
I said that.
What's the word called for that? There's a word for when it's warping your sense of
reality.
There's a name. It's literally like a name, like Nielsen something.
I was looking through an aesthetic page, and they were showing houses and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are beautiful houses. And then I looked, and I was like, wait, the bathtub is next to the toilet. That's impossible. This is AI. And then I took a step back. I was like, I don't like any of this. So I will second that already.
I can't stand it. I know it's important to remember that audiences crave authenticity. That's all great, but AI cannot replace genuine connection and authenticity.
No. It feels robotic.
it feels robotic. And I'm just like, oh, why is it infiltrated? I want to see a cake video. Is it cake or not? And it turned into a marshmallow. I said, why am I here? Why am I with this? And so that was irritating. That's what I think is too hot, is the AI.
Agreed. I'm with you, Chantal. So
yeah, we definitely need to get that off. Especially as actresses, it's very scary to be in an AI time.
Yeah.
I think so too. I mean, I couldn't agree more. We're seeing it all over, and I feel like there's very mixed reviews. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds over the next couple of years. But next rapid fire question. So Chantal, if you were given $1 million for your influencer marketing program, what would you be spending it on?
Oh, I would be doing crazy stunts. It depends on the movie. I would be doing everything. Like I would be like taking the Eiffel Tower and doing like a fun, cool stunt. Like if it were, depends on the movie. Like our brand partnership team does a really fantastic job in general, like from the Airbnb Barbie house to, like turning the Louvre with Joker 2 into the Mona Lisa into a really fun smiley face. Like the activation team is like brilliant. If I had $1 million, I would, first of all, I feel like Beyonce would be available for $1 million. I don't know if that's her fee, but I would just do a really dope collaboration with her because I feel like that's inevitable. So we might as well cut to the chase because it's going to happen one day anyway. And so that's what I would do. I would just do a really fun stunt and make sure that we're getting really dope creators and just like the sky's the limit. That's what I would do.
With a budget like that, the sky is the limit. Bring me along so I can watch with you.
Yes, I got you.
Okay, Jazmine and Loren. So if a brand came knocking on your door, who would it be and how would you want to work with them? Dream brand.
Dream brand.
And just so you know, we have asked this question in the past on the podcast and it's come true. So manifest it, girls.
Can I say one that I think they would be so
yeah,
bad?
Of course.
Nike.
Ooh.
I know that seems very random, but for me,
Nike is a great word.
I see it. I see a campaign. Like
my heart is beating.
Cute apparel. Like, are you kidding me? I see it. Like you guys already wear like the cute. I just see it.
I love Nike.
Now, last time I got a similar question, I said Coach, like a brand, like a fashion brand that's like killing it right now. They're being really innovative right now. They're like on the up and up. But really any brand in that stratosphere that like is just cool and high end, like on the higher end scale.
Delta
she wants to be gifted a high end bag.
Delta
I want the campaign.
Yeah. No, yeah. Delta Airlines for me.
Ooh.
Delta Airlines. They have so many things attached. They have Delta One. And I would love to have a nice campaign with them and just continuously fly with them. They also sponsor a lot of things. So I feel like I'd be at concerts and just whatever as they're like, girl, the Olympics, the just whatever. Delta.
I got it. I'll take back my Coach, American Express. I've seen them do campaigns. I've seen them do campaigns with a few creators.
Oh, Amex has Delta too.
They do like the concert things. They do, but I just feel like
everything.
Traveling with my bestie, it could be spun so many different ways. So I'll put American Express. It is on my list of dream brands. Okay. I had to marinate for a second, but that's definitely not.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
that's a good one. I'm a Delta and an Amex girly myself, so
I'm a Delta and Amex girly. That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Maybe we can get both.
Yeah.
Okay. So final question. So this is for everyone. What's your main prediction for the creator industry in the next 1 to 5 years?
I think the trend of creators diversifying their income streams will continue to grow. Whether that's through, I mentioned earlier, merchandising partnerships or even owning equity in the projects they work on. And I think that the line between influencers and entrepreneurs will blur. I also see brands really having more solidified, like creator friendlies, like the dedicated ones that they work with, and having more programs like affiliate programs, things of that nature. I think that will kind of be the trend that we're seeing with brands, like really making sure that they're staying in kind of this really good like flow with specific creators. So that's like, oh, when you see this, you're like, oh, okay, yes, of course, Jazmine's with Delta again. Okay, of course, Loren, them doing a campaign with American Express. So it's like becomes brand recognition. I think that's what we'll start seeing more of.
Agreed.
I second that for like creators having more. Even recently, like Keke Palmer being the director of, I guess, marketing in a sense, kind of Cream of Nature. Like they're putting people of influence in these different positions, even if it's for show or for real, but like for like them having just more of a stake in the company's campaigns rollouts overall. I think that that's more of the direction, and more of Loren and Jazmine.
Yeah, I see the
doing
people,
things together.
Yeah, I see a graduation happening of all of the creators who are here right now. I see them kind of going off and doing more entrepreneurial things, and then the next generation coming in, and I see that being the future of influencing in general, where it graduates, where it's like you start kind of posting videos, you start doing brand partnerships, then after that, this level, which might be owning a brand, something like that, and then moving into whatever that is. I see that as the new kind of format for content creation, because right now it's kind of like you can just kind of create content forever, work with brands forever. That can kind of be a place where you fall. But I think I'm noticing that a lot of the past creators, like the Jackie Inas and even the Liza Koshis, where it's like they all started with this kind of thing.
Yep.
And then they branch off into brand partnerships, and they branch off into whatever that is, which for Liza, became the acting world. And then for Jackie became the entrepreneurial world of like having her perfume line and, doing that. I see that being a norm, like that being what's expected.
Yeah.
After
I always say too, like, this is social media is kind of like a reality show. So whatever products you're going to sell, whatever, activity you're going to do, you can't necessarily land on a reality show for all of your life. Some people do, but you know, the idea is to get on there, sell it, expose yourself, and then carry on
and
to
then
the
graduate.
Yeah.
But a lot of people aren't, that's not really the trend just yet, but I feel like that'll start being the trend of like, that's the norm. That's what everybody's going to start seeking.
Yeah. I love it. Well, ladies, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for spending time with me today. You're fun, dynamic, smart, amazing. So I know our audience is absolutely going to love it. So thank you and hope to see you soon.